The best thing for that is asking for feedback, collaborating a little bit. So brainstorming. If you're working on an idea and you just come up with your own idea and it's just yours and no one else, great. It's nice to come up with our own ideas, but oftentimes we will have issues with our ideas that we don't notice until halfway through, and then it's like, oh man, it's not as good as I thought it was. When you brainstorm, especially with a good group of people who you have similar ideas with, or like similar sense of humor and all of that, you can improve your ideas so much more. I've done this as a student at Animation Mentor, or even just with my own ideas, where you sit down with a group of friends and you just start throwing out ideas, and someone will throw out an idea and it's like, okay, that's pretty good, but what if this happened? And then, oh yeah, and what if this happened? And you just start throwing ideas out, and someone might go, oh, but no, this section here, it doesn't make sense anymore. What if we did this instead? And you build up the idea, and it might not make it like a masterpiece, but it definitely makes it so that the idea more often than not is better than when it was alone, just you alone. So that's the biggest one, is getting that collaboration in there, and just feedback, asking for feedback on your ideas. Aside from that, it just comes with practice, coming up with good ideas and framing them up correctly, all of that stuff. It's just like animating. It's a skill that you have to learn. Some people have very creative ideas right off the gate. I don't. My ideas tend to be like, when I come up with my own ideas for my own shots, I always tend to just think of, for lack of a better term, boring ideas. But if I sit down long enough and I take what I've learned and use that to my advantage, I can push the idea further than I had. But that takes time. It takes practice. I've read a lot of books on storytelling and storyboarding and all of that kind of stuff. I studied stories, like movies and stuff. How do they frame the shots? How do they make them better? Doing things like that will help you improve your idea creation process. Trying to come up with different ways of thinking of your ideas in the first place. So are you thinking of just a unique idea, or are you thinking of a unique character and how they can do an interesting situation? So, for example, what if our idea is a character sitting down in a chair? That's the whole idea. Character sits down in a chair. Is that a unique idea? Is that interesting? No. That's not great, honestly. Sitting down in a chair, woo. But who's the character sitting in the chair? Not a rig. Who's the character? So, for example, this is a character test they did for Big Hero 6. And basically, it's the characters sitting in a chair. That's it. And each character sits in the chair differently because each character is unique. So when you're coming up with your ideas, it is not necessarily about coming up with the most epic, most unique, most amazing idea that's never been seen before and the funniest joke and punchline. Oftentimes, it's just take something that's, for lack of a better term, generic, and have a unique character do it. And unique doesn't mean that they have to be a crazy, wacky cartoon. It can just be that they are a person. So try to think of different ways you can approach coming up with your ideas. If you find that the typical approach you're getting, the ideas just aren't as interesting, try thinking of the character. Try thinking of the mood. What kind of mood do you want to sell in the shot? Different things like that. Think of different aspects of the shots that you can use to push the idea. So hopefully that helps. The biggest one though is collaboration, and just getting a brainstorming session in there with some people. That is by far the thing that's gonna really push your ideas to that next level, because then you're learning from each other as well. And honestly, it's so much easier to give ideas to someone else than it is to give ideas to yourself, because when we're thinking of our own ideas, we're very hypercritical of it. We put things down. I can't do that. No, it's too hard. No, this is too easy. I want to push myself further. And it's like you're picking on everything. When you give someone else an idea, all you're thinking about, wouldn't this be a cool idea? Here you go. You don't have all of that extra baggage in there. So it makes it much easier when you're brainstorming to just kind of get those ideas flowing. Again, you have to have a good group of people. If you have someone who's always putting things down and going, no, 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 that's not great.